Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel, sponsored of course by Cameron Commercial Vehicles. If you're looking for a new or quality used van, then don't forget Sean is your man, and you can click on CameronCommercialVehicles.com and get through and get all the information you require there. Lots to talk about on the programme, and as ever we'll give you a little quiz question a little later on, and we'll give you the chance to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you hit the subscribe button, then you can join the football family for what we've got is a fantastic 2026 for you, and some big news coming up on the way over the next couple of weeks that I know you will be very interested in. So our main headlines tonight, just in case you've been on another planet, the headlines brought to you by Me, your personal AI twin for small businesses and tradespeople. You can download the app in the App Store or Google Play, and just BeMe.ai to make sure you never miss another call, message or booking for your business. The app is absolutely fantastic. I have it in operation as well. And the headlines off the back of BeMe: Wilfried Nancy sacked by Celtic, Jimmy Thelin sacked at Aberdeen, Stephen Robinson the early favourite for the vacancy, and right now at this moment the Celtic board have also decided to get rid of Wilfried Nancy's backroom team, and Paul Tisdale has been sacked as well. So give us your thoughts on that. The Livingston board are standing by David Martindale despite this poor run that continues and sees Livy at rock bottom. And down south, sacking seems to be the order of the day. Ruben Amorim, the Manchester United manager, sacked as well. So much to talk about. In the next couple of minutes, I'll give you the quiz, but let's focus first of all on the headlines. Ruffy, your immediate thoughts. Wilfried Nancy sacked by Celtic.
Yeah, I think it's very difficult to defend him. You know, when you're at a club like Celtic, you can't afford to just win 2 games out of 8. You know, winning is all. You could see the protest outside. Obviously, the board have got to come to a decision. The place is in a bit of a mess just now as it is, you know, so I think sacking him and moving on might just restore something to the club.
Yeah, lots of people will give us their reaction to that. We want to hear from you on the Celtic manager being sacked. Was it later than it should have been? Lots of people just offering their thoughts on it. No, I'll pay his wages to stay, says John and Alec Ray from Denniston. But nevertheless, there were a number of fans outside after the game at the weekend. And of course, in these games, the Glasgow Derby, the Old Firm Derby, call it what you will, Celtic against Rangers, you offer your prediction on it based on the form. You don't let your eyes deceive you. Alec, in the end, it was Celtic 1, Rangers 3 at Celtic Park, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back for the board.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a game of 2 halves, Peter, and I thought in the first half, I thought Celtic were excellent, and if they were more clinical, now we've been saying it in recent weeks, that they create numerous chances, but unfortunately Wilfried Nancy and Celtic didn't have that luxury at the top end of the pitch, and ultimately he's paid his job, paid the price and 2 wins in 8 is just not good enough, Peter, really, for Celtic when you look at what Martin O'Neill done with the exact same players, and there's been a massive decline, and they have to go back to the drawing board now. I think it's 33 days on since they employed him. So not a lot of time really, but I suggest that they need to go to the transfer market and get a striker in regardless who comes in now.
Now, Tam, we've been talking about it ad nauseum. Of course, I mentioned that after 4 defeats that the Celtic board were considering sacking him. He was given a stay of execution. I stand by the fact that they had discussed his position. This time around, they've all got round there and said, we've made a mistake. There were some stories out this morning that there was a split in the board and that maybe Dermot Desmond was digging his heels in. But quite simply, he's been sacked. Paul Tisdale's been sacked. I mentioned at the weekend as well that because of the calamitous nature of this appointment, I think over and above that, some of the board are still in the firing line as well. But what's your thoughts on Nancy, first of all?
Yeah, I thought it was inevitable, Peter, from the performance and the result at the weekend. You know, you lose 6 games out of 8 at Celtic is nigh on impossible for me. You know, Celtic have been, champions in recent years, have been a dominant force for 10, 15 seasons. You know, to come in early doors and lose 6 out of 8 is not good enough. And I thought straight after the game that Celtic would have pulled the trigger. They've obviously had a meeting about it. I can't believe there'd be a split. I think it would be unanimous that he had to go. First and foremost, I look at the board and I look at the appointments of Nonsi and Tidsdale. What background and what did they have that got them the Celtic job? Paul Tisdale's director of football, Wilfried Nonsi. They had nothing in their CVs to get the Celtic job, so that's a massive black mark against the Celtic board again. But I do feel they've made the right decision. I feel as if it was unanimous. I think if you look at the Celtic support after the game, to a man, woman and child, they want them out the door. And I think when it comes to that kind of situation, he's got to go. I didn't like to walk down the tunnel straight away at the weekend as well. I didn't think he had the balls to come out and face the supporters. That didn't go down well with supporters either. So I thought all in all, it's been a disastrous appointment. And Celtic can still salvage and still go and win the league by doing what they've done today. I
think also the board are open to criticism, Ruffy, on a number of issues, and one of them is quite simply, if Tam's questioning how they managed to appoint him, Alec is mentioning that maybe his case would have been strengthened had he had a striker of note in there to help his case, to paper over cracks, to buy him the time. The other aspect of this, which I think highlights the calamitous nature of this board and what they were doing, is quite simply that Martin O'Neill was brought in an interim basis, and his results in the end intensified the pressure on the manager, regardless of what qualities he did or did not possess, because Martin is going in to a club in disarray, to a previous manager who's caused mayhem in the background, digging at the board consistently, and the board rightly were open to criticism. But suddenly Martin comes in, galvanises that team, gets results, and suddenly the next manager comes in and he's facing not only having to change a legend's style, but he changes the way the team plays, and the players weren't having it.
No, it's obvious the change in style, the change in formation is the one that's hit him the most. Beat Celtic and lose 18 goals in so many games. That's his biggest failure for me, being adamant that 3 at the back is the way I'm going to play. With players at his disposal can't play that system, and he was stubborn enough not to change it. He could have went 4-5-1, and still had the wide men, but he stuck by the 3 at the back, and I don't think any of them complemented each other. I think when you're in the defence, centre halves have to complement each other, good and bad, and wing backs, you've got to know the positions. And we spoke about it on Friday. We thought he might get a window. You might get a window. You might get away with bringing decent players in, and you've got to think the way Rangers have done. They've reformed themselves. They started winning games. New players coming in. The striker we've already identified has to come in and do something. So from that aspect, it'd be interesting to see what happens if Martin O'Neill comes in and he goes on a run.
But the pictured one of the Columbus Crew players in the stand at the weekend. So this tells you this was all hanging on
that result.
Yeah,
no, listen, there can be a real massive fallout from an Old Firm defeat like that. It's interesting. I find the whole thing kind of fascinating, really. You look at, when he's talking about the manager sticking to his guns and being dogmatic about, we're going to play with the 3 at the back and things. You look across the city, and that manager's been pragmatic, where, he thinks, right, okay, starts halfway a 4, which he's preferred, then he changes to a 3. At the weekend, at half-time, he's thinking, we've got this badly wrong, changes his shape, and then they get the result. So for me, I think, even let me go back to Russell Martin, there's a similarity there where he's not willing to budge on his principles, where you think to yourself, we don't quite have the personnel to actually play this particular style, and the fact that they were conceding goals on a regular basis should have been a red flag to maybe change it back up, to then go back, just to buy yourself time.
But good managers change, Alec.
No, without a doubt. Well, you say that, but we see down in the Amarin as well, down the road, the back 3 ends up with a 32% win rate at Man United. So you're looking at that and you're saying, I think if he had his time again and he didn't, his pride and his ego, he could maybe overseen that, then he would have to change that, because you couldn't continue the way you were going. And he probably misjudged the size of the club, because he may be looking at it and going, we've got a wee bit of time, we're sitting in second, we're still in the hunt, and then Rome's burning, and he's not changing anything. So, and I think when you look at the players as well, I look at the personnel within that camp, I don't quite get the impression that they were buying in to his ideas, and ultimately it's transferred onto the football pitch.
Hazel says he should never have been there. That's on the board. However, at least they admitted the mistake. Tisdale too. The gloom has been lifted a bit. The board are still not free and clear though, and I think Hazel, a lot of Celtic fans agree with you on that point. Give us your thoughts on 8 games, and as Alec mentioned, there are 33 days, and also as well when you look at it even from a PR exercise. If I am standing next to Wilfried Nancy at any press conference, at any post-match, I would say to him, do not, under any circumstances, be talking about performances. Rather than explaining away a defeat, because he came out at one point and started waffling about, it's always about performances. Not at these clubs.
That's it, yeah.
No, Peter, it isn't. And listen, he's came from a league, and I've played in the MLS. There's no intensity in the league in the MLS. There's 8 clubs getting into a playoff. If you win the division, you don't win the league. You go into playoffs. There's no pressure to win every week. You can win a game, lose a game, win a game, lose a game. It doesn't matter. All you need to do is finish in the top 8 of 16 clubs in America. So he's came from that to Celtic, where you've got to win every week. And I just don't see where the Celtic board have went, right, we've got this manager, he's got a good philosophy in the game, plays attacking football. What's his win percent record like? Has he been in a pressurised situation as a manager? No, he hasn't. He hasn't, Peter. And he's came, honestly, from frying pan into the fire in terms of he's got to win every game at Celtic. And I just don't think you're right. He's not grasped the enormity of you need to win every game at Celtic. If you draw a game, it's a disaster. If you lose a game, it's a nightmare. And he just hasn't got that. He hasn't got that aspect. He hasn't got it in him. And it's been a disastrous appointment, Peter. So, listen, as I said, Celtic had to pull the trigger. They were going to finish outside the top 4 under him.
I don't think the players are getting off of jail here as well. Some of the players on the part are ridiculous.
Yeah, but can I say something to you, Ruffy? And
I've not had them for day one.
Yeah. They haven't been. The thing about it is, and this is where, and Hazel pointed out, numerous people are pointing out that the board, it's not finished yet with a number of the board who have to be held accountable for the calamity that the Celtic fans have witnessed. But the point is this, Ruffy, that team was coming off the back of a manager who had said, I'm dealing with a Honda Civic. So they had Brendan Rodgers totally and utterly degrading the quality of the side. So they'd basically lost faith in him, and the performances were poor and turgid. Martin O'Neill comes in with Sean Maloney and Mark Fotheringham and basically turns round to the players and says, listen, you're good players. We're going to play this way. This is the style you're going to play. Just play it. Go out there. A bit of banter in the dressing room. A bit of, my arm round you. I want you to do this, do that. They felt good again, and they had a bit of confidence, and they got results. One of them they didn't get because I don't think anybody expected them to get the European result. But the rest of it is 7 wins out of 8. And then you get a manager who comes in and suddenly, from a totally different culture, from a totally different league, plays a totally different style, in the middle of a season, Ruffy, when really you should have said to yourself, as we said on this programme, just bed yourself in, stick to what they're doing, and then gradually make your change. But he was too radical in it.
Yeah, but as Alex said, the boy at Man United didn't change because everybody said, yeah.
He's paid the price on on. So the message here is, Ruffy, that's it. If you change, as it's going, and see what you're talking about, the Danny Rowe, day one, just won football matches. So they kind of understood that. But see, you're absolutely right, Ruffy. So see this situation. I don't agree with you, Tam, that if they stayed, see this January window. See if Celtic fulfilled 2 positions. I still think they're very much in the title race. See if you get a right centre-back, because even for cover, whether they go back to a back 4, and a good number 9, with the amount of chances this lot create on a weekly basis, you fill your boots up there playing for Celtic.
Lost 18 goals in 8 games, Alex.
But this is the back line.
So one centre-half's going to sort that?
No, but what I'm saying is,
go back to a 4.
This is the back line that Martin O'Neill had managed to shore up.
He wouldn't have changed for the 3-4-3 under any circumstances.
No, but this is the back line that Martin O'Neill had managed to shore it up. By the time he comes in, they're all over the place.
Well, Scales was probably Celtic's best player when Martin O'Neill came in. Best player. And he's looked horrendous
Yeah.
under him. He's dropped out
in
the
the
team.
system.
Yeah, but in the system because
he can't play that system.
Yeah, he can't play
And I think the
system
system more than the players, Ruffy. The system is the players are looking, going, I see the amount of times I watched that back three and Schmeichel as well, whose distribution was woeful. The amount of times I watched them in the game and somebody's going, who's showing for me here? What is this we're playing?
Yeah, I get that, but the system never made Celtic lose at the weekend. It was 3 mistakes by defenders and a goalkeeper. 3 mistakes.
But Ruffy, can I just say something to you? Up at Tannadice, they had 3 or 4 major chances. They could have been out of sight in the first half.
Yeah.
And then the same thing happened again in the second half. And you call them mistakes. It's opportunities that clubs have been able to seize upon, teams have been able to seize upon.
Managers have been seized upon.
Managers, 3 Premier League managers before the European game, forget Gasperini, 3 Premier League managers had already worked him out in a cup final against St Mirren with a budget that was easily a fraction.
Yeah, I get all that and I agree with everything you're saying, but if you look at the 3 goals that Celtic lost at the weekend, it wasn't because of the manager's tactics. It was because of players' mistakes. Trusty not going and shutting the boy down, and the other one and Schmeichel the goal. That's no formations, that's just glaring mistakes by people.
At times, particularly the Trusty one.
The one with he should have went and closed them down.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
Ralston's trying to pass the ball to somebody
Are you
that's
making
not there.
excuses because you think he should have had more time?
No, I'm just saying no. You can't beat. We've already scored. You can't beat Celtic and lose that many games. That's the bottom line, and I agree with Thomas. If you're signing for Rangers and Celtic, you've got to have some kind of pedigree. I think a European pedigree for a manager. The Rangers boy had been about Europe, been and tried it and he'd learned everything. This boy has come from nowhere. So the people who identified him need to come out and tell them what credentials he had to be the manager of Celtic Football
I think structurally Celtic were vulnerable throughout the course of his tenure, and it's evident because the amount of chances are passing up. Whereas in a back four, I don't think they pass up that amount of chances.
See if you play a back three, Alec, and you've got good players who can play a back three. You can play a back three.
Yeah.
They've not got players to play a back three.
Yeah, well, that's the reason why.
I can't remember the boy Trusty actually get tackling somebody or doing something nasty.
Yeah.
I can't even remember him doing it, and it might be the case that he's now isolated in there. He's the main centre half who's got to protect everybody, and he can't do it. He's not good enough.
He's not an enforcer. I mean, I often go to games with St Mirren and expect Gogic to get booked in the warm-up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because
that's his own players.
He's in there. He's in there. But listen, the ultimate thing is he had to go. My belief is, at the time when I pointed out they were discussing his future, he had to go then because there was 3 huge games coming up, and at that point when they realised that it was a mistake and he was out of his depth, he started waffling. Early on, they should have looked and said, "Listen, we've made a mistake here. Here's your wages. On you go," and made the move. But they've made so many mistakes that I think this is not. Tisdale might be, as someone has suggested here, a sacrificial lamb. This is not the end of it. Some other people on that board have to go who basically are silent. Nobody knows what they offer. It needs refreshed. It needs a new attitude, a new outlook on how to move forward, a different strategy from the one that was in place with Dermot Desmond constantly over a number of years put in place by Peter Lawwell and the rest of the board. It needs to change. They need a fresh approach. And by the way, let's talk about it now. Alec and I have been talking about it. And by the way, I'll also apologise to the Rangers fans because quite simply, we're going to talk about the positivity of Rangers shortly. But this guy's been sacked. Alec and I have been talking about it before we come on here. I was talking about him last week. I've been raving about him all season. If they want to go and get a manager, now I'll give you 2 things. One, will Martin O'Neill take the job? Yes, but he won't take it on an interim basis. He would take that job if they said 18 months to 2.5 years. He'll take the job, his last job.
He won't take it between now and the summer?
No, he'd take it now.
To the summer?
No, I don't think he will. No.
So you think 18 months?
No.
Right, interesting.
No, I think this is Martin O'Neill does not want here. Can you take us to the summer? I think Martin O'Neill wants now. If you want me, give me the job, give me the tools. And remember, by the way, Martin O'Neill is not a coach. Martin O'Neill manages everything. That's why a lot of the board members didn't get on with him before, because he controls everything. So if Martin O'Neill is the man that they want back, they're going to have to offer him 18 months possibly 2.5 years, and that's your job. But I think my choice for the Celtic manager would be Jens Berthelaskau. I know it sounds a bit radical, but there's a man who's come in. There's a clear DNA at Motherwell. He plays football the right way. They've had 7 clean sheets at home. They're in the top half of the table. They've beaten Celtic. They've beaten Rangers. They've played them off the park with inferior players. He's managed to gel it together. They play a brand of football that is an absolute joy to watch. He would be the man that I would say, listen, here's your 2.5, 3 year deal. Get Celtic in the same way. Entertaining football.
There's a big club going to come in for him this summer, I feel.
Yeah, but this is an opportunity for Celtic to nip in now.
Because I think the summer you'll go to...
You're right, Ruffy.
You can't argue in, he's done. You know, there's no guarantee he's going to go in and do that. What if he goes in and plays 3 at the back with A3 he's got and he starts losing again? You know?
But he doesn't.
You're going to get...
No, Ruffy, can I just say something to you? The reason why I'm going to ridicule you with that line is you've got to actually go to games and watch them. And I've watched them. I've been at Motherwell more times this season than any game that I've seen.
Not disagreeing when you're saying the way they're playing.
He's played a 4.
They're fantastic.
Yeah.
They're great, there's no doubt about that, but there is no guarantee.
Yeah, but
no guarantee in what?
Of them going on a run or winning something or
Celtic.
being a successful at Celtic.
There's no guarantees, but there's a better guarantee with a man who's come in and understood the game quickly. Every player I've spoken to at Motherwell said to me, we had 2 weeks, I think they went to the Netherlands. We had 2 weeks, we knew exactly what our plan was, we knew exactly the way we were going to play, and basically everybody individually, he said, this is your role, this is what I want you to do. And then what he said was, it's not going to be solid at the start, but you're going to play out from the back, and we're going to mix it up a bit. They get caught out at Celtic Park with a high press. What does he do? He then goes back to the goalkeeper ward and says, right, listen, every now and then,
put your foot
launch it. And the players have got a brilliant style with Elliot Watt, who for me is the player of the year at the moment, coming in, taking the ball like Callum McGregor used to do, and building. And they're a joy to watch.
Nobody's disagreeing with it. I'm not disagreeing with that. I've seen them, particularly the weekend, the goal that the boy Watt scored was top drawer, right out. But I just don't know. I don't know if he's got the right credentials.
Well, do you know the thing is, last week you were talking about, could someone cherry pick the Motherwell players, some of the football that are actually playing. I went, tie down the manager. Because the manager, so see the thing is, there is no guarantee with any manager. You can go to the Premier League and pick the cream, and they're not necessarily going to guarantee you that they can deliver that. However, what this guy is going to bring is a style of play. There's a belief. He's still, early 40s, so he's still relatively young in terms of managerial. His experience. He's actually went toe-to-toe with the old firm in a particular style and outplayed them at times. Yeah. And you're thinking to yourself, so that gives you an indication with better players, and I mean that with the greatest respect to the Motherwell boys, with better players, higher calibre, he could produce that at that level if he implements his ideas. So I wholeheartedly agree. Where do they go? And so obviously they had to go through a long process to get Nancy, and there was a couple of other candidates. There's a guy on the doorstep, you're thinking, oof, you're already seen the body of work that he's brought to the table. So I think that would possibly, the Motherwell won't thank us for that, but ultimately it's the same as when you bring in players at Motherwell. They're to be sold on at some stage down the line. It applies to the manager as well.
The sign of a good coach, good manager is improving the players that he's got. And I think that you look at the Motherwell team, he signed a few players, but he's not spent any money. He's brought players in who've been around, they're journeyman players.
He's done great with him,
and Steve McDonald's like Cafu. I mean, I watched him the other day putting that through ball.
Yeah.
Incredible. And he looks comfortable in the ball. Paul McGinn, all these players, he's made them better. And I think that's a sign of a good coach. So I totally agree with everything that's getting said. I think if you're a Celtic board member, you're sitting at Fir Park last week, 2 weeks ago, and you're watching your team who've spent a fortune getting played off the park by Motherwell, absolutely battered, you must be thinking, who's this manager?
Yeah, absolutely.
So he must have caught the eye of the board at that game.
You're not having it.
He's going to go in and make Trusty a better player. He's going to make Yang a better player. He's going to make all these players better players.
But he's made all the Motherwell players better.
Well, can I
but there's different levels.
Brendan Rodgers made a few players better players. Brendan Rodgers is a good coach. Brendan Rodgers, the only problem with Brendan Rodgers is Brendan Rodgers fell in love every time he was at Celtic. He fell in love with Brendan Rodgers, because that was Brendan Rodgers. But if he didn't get his own way through the dummy out of the pram...
I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying about Motherwell. They are playing great football, brilliant football, and winning games and that. You've got to consider the Rangers and Celtic aren't the Rangers and Celtic that we know, usually year on year.
But that's still...
So he's doing well, but he's not coming up against a top Rangers team and a top Celtic team.
Well, let me ask you this, and this is the tough... Listen, we're offering an opinion on it. Who would you go for?
I would go for somebody in Europe who's done something in Europe. You know, somebody with a bit of experience, European experience. Possibly the teams they've come up against in Champions League football, managers who they can identify, somebody who's been at the top, doing Champions League stuff, doing European stuff. Well, the guys, I can't remember the guys that were mentioned before he got the job, but certainly a lot of them had very good credentials. You were going on about one in particular, I can't remember who it was, but that kind of guy, that kind of credential, this boy had nothing. You know, and I've said it before, when I'm in a dressing room and I'm supposed to, like, when somebody walks through that door, a new manager, you've got to go, wow. If he walked through the door at Celtic and I was sitting at Dundee, I'd be going, who's this?
No, I've got to jump in there. I've got to jump in there.
I think you would.
They've played...
He's done nothing.
Wait a minute.
What's he done? What respect has he got?
You're a Celtic player and you're getting a chasing off his team.
Absolutely.
I'm talking about when he comes.
Ruffy.
Celtic players must have come off that park thinking, they're decent, they're a good side.
Who?
Motherwell.
No, I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about the Celtic manager. When he walked through the Celtic...
You talking about Nancy?
Yeah, I'm talking about him. When he walked into that Celtic dressing room, how many of the Celtic players went, wow, how did we get him?
Well, how
did we get that guy?
I have to tell you, it's a big call for them, but if I was Celtic...
Somebody's mentioned Mark Wilson and Alec Ray there for Celtic. They're doing well at Thistle.
By the way, you want to see the jungle caving in when I walk into the place? There'll be flames.
It's been a while.
That's just my mates for Denison.
It's been a while. You know the jungle's gone now.
Yeah, by the way, that was my good old days when I was a boy skipping in, doubling in and it. I could have got to Ibrox as a kid. I used to double in with my mate Faz and Phil on it. Yeah,
but by the way, you know, it's funny you saying that. I was actually thinking about that the day. I said, that partnership, where does it go after they're doing a great job at Thistle? You know, and all of a sudden, you know, the door will eventually knock and they go, it's Wilson and Ray, you know. Listen, give us your thoughts. Who do you think should be the Celtic manager? Personally, if Martin O'Neill is the man that they're going back to with Sean Maloney, and I think Sean Maloney has got something to offer at Celtic, I don't think Sean Maloney is the out-and-out Celtic manager.
Do you think he'll go in there, sorry Peter, do you think he'll go in there as the interim at the moment, just to oversee the first couple of weeks? Because unless they offer Martin in a longer term,
yes.
He'd be the automatic choice.
Well, with all due respect, you know, we're talking here a situation, and I'm only going to pull this up on the basis that you're talking about a situation here where Celtic have dropped so many points that you've got a
6 point gap.
Well, not only that, but you've got Celtic against Dundee United coming up, and then you've got Falkirk against Celtic. You're looking to say to yourself, you do not want to be stretching into February, you know.
And what's the game after that?
Yeah, they've got Hearts at Tynecastle. You see at the end of this week, Celtic should have said, here's your manager.
Yeah. The
end of this week, Dermot Desmond must have been sitting yesterday after that game. He must have been sitting on this after the game at night and saying, okay, where are we going with this? Phone call. Who is out there? Who are we going to get? He's gone. He must have been saying that. He's gone. Now we need to get the replacement.
Do any of you think that there'll be a replacement within the next week or two from someone out of left field?
Depends. If it's Martin O'Neill, I think he's available.
No, I'm not. That's a go-to for me. Him or Sean Maloney are the go-to. But I just mean out of left field, they're going to appoint someone.
So.
I don't either.
So.
No, neither do I, because obviously it's
no, I don't think so.
That's due to the fact that I think unless Dermot Desmond has a clear vision and a clear name in his mind that he's able to go right away out with Martin O'Neill, that board is clueless. So I don't see that.
Do you know the interesting thing about it? Because you say, where did he go here? Obviously, Paul Tisdale's director of football.
Yeah.
Peter Lawwell's stepped down. So there's a couple of positions, big positions that need replaced.
Yes.
And then obviously the manager. So there's big... And it's very difficult to get all these positions kind of fulfilled pretty sharply.
There's only two people that will kind of bring the Celtic support together, and that's Martin O'Neill or Ange Postecoglou. That's only two for me that would bring everyone together.
I don't think you can go back to Ange Postecoglou. I really don't. I think Celtic have to look and say to themselves...
Bite your hand off for him.
Well, you would.
Ange Postecoglou.
Yeah.
I think he's a tremendous coach. He suited Celtic perfectly. I think the Celtic fans would be jumping off the rafters if Ange Postecoglou came back in.
Compared to what they've just had, I think it's most certainly an upgrade for me, you know. But the thing is what does he want to come back today so soon? He looks fairly comfortable after the 2 payoffs.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I think he's worrying.
Is he wearing cashmere jumpers?
Yeah. Talking of cashmere jumpers, so you're going for a European coach again and hope that he's able to hit the ground running in this transfer window and in this race.
Yeah.
And he's also got to have to hit the ground running and know exactly what the whole game's about.
Yeah, play 4 at the back.
Yeah, okay.
Can I just say, Neil made the biggest mistake ever on Saturday, and we've done this before, the both of us. I sat after 45 minutes and Celtic were dominating, and it could have been 2-3. My phone was lying, and I went,
oh no.
I know.
And I kept going, no, don't text them. Don't text them, because we text each other sometimes. And it was the best mistake I made all weekend.
Yeah,
I'm picking that phone up.
Well, I mean, with that in mind, give us your thoughts. Who do you think should be the Celtic manager? Is it somebody from Europe? Is it somebody experienced that you have in mind? Should it be going back to Martin O'Neill and giving him a long-term view for his last job? Or should it be Martin O'Neill coming in with grooming along the way, Sean Maloney and Mark Fotheringham to take the job longer term? Or is it a Jens Berthelaskau? Is it somebody like Ange Postecoglou? Give us your thoughts on that. We want to know what you think. On the game,
Yes.
great credit to Danny Rule. Changed it at half-time, got the result.
Yeah, I think after about 20 minutes I put on one of the group chats I'm involved in. I says it's like men against boys. And I thought Asgard was so pedestrian. I don't think he can get the pace of the game, and he was going to turn over a possession. And I thought they dominated for the large part of that first half, Celtic. And again, at the top end of the pitch, they just weren't clinical enough. And as much as I felt Jack Butland should have did well with the angle, I thought he put off a couple of really important saves at the right time. And, it just shows you the importance of a decent goalkeeper at that time, because it sees you through to half-time where they changed the shape. And this is the interesting thing about it. Rangers identified where they were going wrong and kind of tried to amend that. And they did as well. They managed to get an upper hand in the game. But Celtic had no answer to that. And that's what I'm talking about, being pragmatic and changing as you see fit. And I think it's a really big 3 points for Rangers, because there was question marks on the back of the Hearts game a couple of weeks ago. Oh, if they beat Hearts, it's back to this. Didn't get the result on that day, but to beat your biggest rivals in the manner that they did, it's always a hard place for Rangers to go and get 3 points at Parkhead. It doesn't happen that often. So it was a big 3 points, and they're very much in the title race now.
With good signings, do you think they can win the title?
I do, yeah. Listen, it's again, I've been saying for weeks, I think there's a list of players that's already been put in the written press. I think there's 5 or 6 that have already been told that they can get loan deals in January. But again, some of them were offered up in the summer and no one took them up because they're on so much money. So if they can get a couple of boys out with the right signings at the right, try to think which is obviously a centre-half would be one. I think another number 9 would be, because obviously they're talking about Danilo going out on loan, so I think at the top end of the pitch. So if you can get 2 or 3 players in, and I think momentum's really important as well, Peter. I think on the back of the way that Danny Rowe's going about his business, out with the Hearts game, I think it's been pretty decent.
A word for Chermiti.
Oh no, listen, I'm delighted for him. And I've often said in here, I see wee bits, I look at him at times, I watch him and I go, he's got a little bit. The problem that boy has...
Wasn't that 2 months ago?
No, you told us on Friday. We're going to pay tribute to you.
That boy was to get him out on loan, get him out of the place.
Yeah.
Looks like how things change in football.
Yeah. I see
confidence.
Ruffy, I see that boy doing things and I go,
Good attributes.
He's got good attributes. He's technically powerful. But the problem he's got is he's got this £8 million price tag, which is fortunes. Because as soon as you buy somebody for £8 million in Scotland, you've got to be the number 1 striker. We just got rid of a player, Rangers, in the summer for £3 million, £3.5 million for Cyril. 30 goals he had. So when you bring a guy at £8 million, they're going, well, we expect goals. And unfortunately, the boy's just learning his trade. But I think in time, there's potential there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in that second half showing, despite the fact that we've highlighted all the failures of that Celtic back line, not closing them down, he still had to finish, Tam.
Yeah, he did. He took his first one well, great run across the defender front post, stuck it away. Second one, listen, we can talk about defending from Trusty, but he's positive. He gets in there and he makes the keeper. You know, again, I think Schmeichel could possibly do better as well with that one.
I don't know why he's using his feet. I really don't. It's a new thing now, isn't it?
To be honest with you, his dad was the kind of pioneer of that, and I think he's taken that. To be fair to him, Ruffy, and I see him come out a lot of times and he does that and he saves a lot.
Yeah.
But I have to be honest with you, over the last few weeks I've said Celtic, centre half, centre forward, but the more I'm actually seeing Schmeichel in this spell, I think a number one goalkeeper.
Slow getting down now. He looks as if he's slow getting down.
No, I know.
What about the shot from?
He's got to say it's too slow getting down. He doesn't move.
Oh yeah, he's trying to flick it around the post. He's trying to usher it.
Yeah,
around
the post,
and he's just not got his hand on it.
Poor?
Oh, definitely poor. I'm sure you don't have to tell him that. He's a quality goalkeeper. He'll know the goals. I thought he could have done better with the foot. He was fortunate it hit his foot and went into the goal. It could have went either way, but he comes out and narrows the angle, does everything properly, and it's here. You know, I don't know why you just can't get done.
He might not have the agility now either.
Okay, give us your thoughts on Rangers, the performance, the players, those that deserve great credit. Danny Rule, his performances, can they win the title? Can Rangers win the title? And do you think they will win the title? There's a better question.
I think they can win it. I don't think they will.
I'm right behind Motherwell now after your chat.
Oh, they've got top manager.
Well, Motherwell can't win it because they're just about to lose their manager. What do you think?
I think they're all in it. You know, I think they're all vulnerable.
No, we know they're all in it. Will Rangers win the title?
No.
Okay.
Who will then? Sorry, because both of you say so. I think they've got a really good chance now with the momentum. Who do you think, Tam, still?
I think Celtic will win the league.
Yeah?
Yep. I think if they bring Martin O'Neill in, I think they'll win the league.
I'm going to go for Hearts.
I'm going to stick with Hearts as well. I know they never struggle against Livingston and they created hundreds of chances, but I think the pool that they've got, I looked at their bench, quite strong, coming on. You know, and we've looked at Rangers and Celtic in the past, and their bench has been the turning point after 60 minutes, 65 minutes.
Yeah.
I think Hearts are beginning, and it's not finished yet.
If Hearts, you're talking about Rangers need to sign, striker, maybe a centre half. If Hearts sign a striker of note, and maybe a centre half for me now that they've got the right back, I think they're in with a great shout. It's all down to, having that belief now, and that's what Derek's got the best position to try and think. Okay, I should have won it with Aberdeen when they had, what I call the Ronnie Dyla years, but they didn't. This time he's got a better squad. This time he's got a board that's backed him. He's going to get another 2 players in. He's got Chesnikov who's about to come on as a winger. We don't know how good he's going to be. I think they're looking good for it. The good
thing about it is that when the split comes, there's not going to be that 15, 16 point gap. They're all going to be at each other, and it's going to be so exciting.
Got the wire, eh? Listen, it never disappoints you, Scottish football.
The window will decide it as well, Peter. I think that it depends who you bring in. Celtic would need to, I think we'd need to sign 4 or 5.
Anyway, you mentioned Hibs.
But as I was saying to you...
Wait a minute, hold on a minute.
Whoa.
Yeah, what about that column?
You'll find
somebody, Ruffy and I phoned your wife and apparently you had 5 kestrels by the time
I think you'll find that if you read the article, I didn't at all say in the article that Hibs would win the league.
What did you say?
They could.
They could win the league.
Go on a date with Margot Robbie next week. Probably won't.
What day?
I'm coming with you.
There's a bit of creative editing in that.
To be honest with you, we didn't read it. We just looked at the headline.
I know. So did everybody, and I get battered.
Okay,
listen. Motherwell Hibs. They're not a million miles off it.
Oh. Pays the bills.
They're not a million miles off it.
Don't I know it? I've been battered in the last 2 weeks. Okay, great result for Rangers. Let's get on now. Before we talk about this next sacking, here's our quiz question for you, because off the back of this we'll talk about Jimmy Thelin, and of course with our Elite Joinery and Fire Safety. They are the sponsor of our quiz, and we thought, well, who scored Aberdeen's decisive penalty in the Scottish Cup final win over Celtic? Was it A, Kevin Nisbet, B, Graham Shinnie, C, Nicky Devlin, or D, Ante Palaversa?
Alec knows this.
Can I just tell you something? No, I'm serious, right? See, when Celtic playing cup finals at the end of May, I'm in Portugal and I refuse to watch it. So I always miss the Scottish Cup. We don't get that much at Rangers.
So there's our quiz question today, courtesy of Elite Joinery and Fire Safety. All you have to do is have a look at it and see if you can give us the answer by the end of the programme on your feed, on Twitter, on Facebook, and of course on our YouTube channel. If you enjoy the banter, then don't forget, all you have to do is quite simply click on the subscribe button and join the football family. And already you can tell right away that everybody's going crazy. Chris says, Martin O'Neill is back, I am hearing. Of course, it wouldn't take a rocket scientist to come up with the obvious one, but if I thought...
It's a logical choice, isn't it, Peter?
It is, but if they
brings everyone together again. I think the players, you got to tune out the players, they liked them.
Do you think you give him an 18-month, 2.5-year contract?
I don't think 2.5, I think 18 months.
I find it fascinating because obviously he's got the cards now. You know, he's done so well there. He's done the interim.
They're desperate to get him back.
I thought when he left, Peter, he said it was a task. Being back 24.
No,
I've spoken to him. He had the buzz. I've spoken to him several times. He loved it. See, after game 2, it was the old Martin O'Neill. In fact, it was that much of the old Martin O'Neill I thought he was going to start fighting with me because that's all we did when he was the manager. But he had the buzz. He would want that job, but I don't think, from my conversations with him, listen, stranger things have happened. He might turn around and say, listen, I'll take it for 6 months until you get...
It just quietens the fire now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Supporters as well.
But see, to be honest with you, Tam, it may well, dampen down the unrest, but there's fans out there still want the board to go, because quite simply, if you can't say to Martin O'Neill, come in and manage the club the way you did, we're going to give you a few quid. We're going to give you a few quid to spend, and you can actually run the club again, because he doesn't have a powerful chief executive to put the blockers, the blockers on him, which was Peter Lawwell.
It's like you're messing him about a wee bit because you've got him in as interim.
Exactly.
Then after 8 games he's left, then you bring him in for another 12 games.
It's not good.
Martin O'Neill would just go...
It's a lack of leadership.
Aye, so yeah, I do agree. I think you've got to give him 18 months.
Jimmy Thelin sacked. Ruffy, I am not going to gloat over it. I'm going to say to you, it's later than it should have been.
Yeah, but I think you got to give the owner a wee bit of credit. I think he'd obviously sacked 2 or 3 before that. Obviously, the Scottish Cup win gave him a wee bit of leeway, but I think the owner's just been nice to him because he got him a Scottish Cup. But obviously, the results have been horrendous. If you look at the whole package of league results, have been really, really poor, and I think he's just had to come to a decision.
Tam, I mean, the results going into the cup final as well, you were wondering, surely, a manager's going to get billeted. They won the cup final with a Celtic squad that had put the tools away. They'd had enough of Brendan Rodgers at that point, and it went to a cup final where basically it was a penalty shootout.
Yeah, I still think he'll be remembered fondly with Aberdeen fans, Peter, because he's gave a generation of Aberdeen fans the biggest day of their life so far.
Yeah.
And Aberdeen don't win Scottish Cups very often. And I think the fact that he started so well, I think they won 13 of their first 14 games. It was like the second coming of Alex Ferguson. The supporters were loving him. And I think from that onwards, I think Celtic beat them 6-0 in the semi-final when they went toe-to-toe with them and they got battered. After that, I think the confidence drained out of them. And I think if you look at the 2025, I think if you look at the calendar year, I think they'd won 11 league games or 12 league games in a calendar year. So not good enough, Peter. And he's been well backed. He's had a lot of money, but I don't think he's been a complete failure. I genuinely think that winning the Scottish Cup, getting them into the European group stages, I think that he was certainly not go down as one of the worst ever managers. I think he's done okay. But I think they've rightfully sacked him.
I disagree with you. I think circumstances helped him. Circumstances elsewhere, the Scottish Cup, helped him, buy him time. But if you look at the results, they were struggling trying to get into the top 6 last season. This season, their ambition is, can we scrape into the top 6 again? It's Aberdeen, for God's sake. And the board, I mean, you're talking about boards that sometimes get criticism. Dave Cormack and Alan Burrows deserve credit. They backed him, Alec.
Yeah, no, and listen, I think they've obviously backed him in the summer, thinking, right, okay, because of what he did initially when he first came in. And it hasn't quite worked. I think when you look back in his tenure, I think they've obviously given him a very good day in the Scottish Cup. But at the start of this season, I think it was 1 in a dozen, 12, 13 games. And I think we were talking about, because it's a result-driven business. And then he had a nice little spell where he managed to get a few wins and things, and you think it's starting to pick up a little bit. But I think most recently, they've lost 4 out of the last 5 games. So, it just started to get a downward spiral again. They thought, right, okay, January, early in January, we can get a new manager in. And then we can obviously give them some more finances to try and kind of get.
I think he's too nice, Peter. I thought he was too nice, and I think that showed in his team. I thought Aberdeen were a nice team. I don't think they've done any dig at all.
I'll tell you right now, you want to go in there 50 that Shinnie, man. He's
Shinnie, but you take him and maybe Devlin out the team. Yeah. Apart from that, they've no dig at all.
You said nice. I thought they were dull. I thought Aberdeen were dull to watch, no style, no
attacking players.
I know, but you're talking about over a football year with Aberdeen. I thought the games that they lost, the way they played, I didn't see a style, Ruffy.
There was times when it was there. They struggled again for a striker after they lost the boy at Rangers now. They didn't have anybody to put the ball in the back of the net.
Nesbitt had a wee spell, didn't he?
Tam's right, they did give him money. He brought in 2 or 3 good players. I thought Aberdeen's biggest failing was centre-halves. I thought the defence was always horrendous. They've got a couple of young boys in there now that might be good, but for me, it's the off-on, and unfortunately the off bit's just lasted too long.
Yeah, Bob says, I agree with Tam, too nice is how he put it. And also, it wasn't a great watch. Going to Pittodrie was becoming a chore. I agree with you, Bob. I just thought they were poor to watch as well. And of course, he never really changed in the press conference. It was monotone.
I think that was his nature, wasn't it? I did never get the impression it was.
Are kind of like that.
Kind of laid back a little bit.
Not the ones I used to hang about with. But
is it up Toledo, John?
Ruffy?
All credit to the Aberdeen supporters. Never seen any protests or anything, or flag waving or protests.
I don't think the supporters hounded them out, to be honest. I don't think there was that.
But that's to reinforce what you say, is they kind of quite liked him, but they weren't quite.
Yeah, first impressions of Everton football now with social media and all that. I think the first impressions Aberdeen had of Jimmy Thelin were
sensational.
Aye. Okay. Here's the other thing that I was going to say to you, and this is something which is evident when you look at the table. And again, I think Livingston have got to be given credit. It's the dreaded vote of confidence for Livy. Davy at the moment, 1 win, 13 defeats, 6 draws, 9 points, foot of the table, 4 points away from Kilmarnock, so it's not quite done and dusted. But they've said, no, we're right behind the manager.
Well, it's actually refreshing, isn't it? Because normally when you have the run that Davy and Livingston currently have, I think last week his body language was kind of. It's the first time I'd seen Davy on the floor, really. Normally he's a kind of have a go.
Game.
Yeah. However, they had a wee go at the weekend. It could have been more for Hearts. I think they had a few good opportunities, but it's still another defeat at the end of the day. And it'll be interesting because I think they're going to back Davy. I think they're going to look to bring 1 or 2 players in. I think one of the key positions again, I think everybody's looking for him strikers. He's looking to bring a goal scorer in because they don't look as if he can score too many. The big boy missed a couple of great chances in Yenge, yes. So he missed a couple of good chances. He put himself in great positions, good skill, just that finishing touch.
Yeah, I like David. I think he's got a lot to offer.
I think, we're talking about the Aberdeen manager getting a few bonus points to win the Scottish Cup. I think David Martindale just keeping them in the Premiership for so long with the resources he's had. I know it's a bit better this year. A new owners come in and gave them a bigger budget, but certainly in the past, you know, for 3-4 years, he's just kicking away above the players that he's got compared to everybody else's budget. He deserves as much time as possible.
Yeah, well, and listen, they're only 4 points away from Kilmarnock. And
I've always said that, Peter, if you had Livingston, Kilmarnock and Dundee, who were all grouped together at the bottom, and I always said if one of them starts to get detached, which I think Livingston could start to get detached, I think that they could change a manager. I don't think Davy Martindale's bulletproof. I think if they go 10, 11, are they just going to accept it?
Yeah. Well, we will find out over the course of the weeks. But I certainly think with a bit of backing, I think you could make a real battle of it at the bottom end of the table. But just a word on Hearts.
Yeah, I don't think it was their best performance, Peter, but
6 points clear, Tom.
Yeah, they're 6 points. Listen, they're now favourites for the bookies to win the league. So, you know, I'm starting to get worried, to be honest. But yeah, listen, I do think that they will have to strengthen the squad. They'll have to strengthen I know they're bringing a couple in. They brought a full-back in from Holland.
Chesnikov signed.
They've signed Chesnikov. So I think need a striker and maybe centre-back.
The other thing,
they'll be thereabouts.
Alec and I have discussed it with Ruffy as well, Tam. If by some twist of fate we get to the final game of the season and Derek McInnes is walking out with the Premiership trophy and Hearts have won the title, if there's any kind of a hassle at your house or there's a blockage on the East Kilbride Joe carriageway, we are coming to get you to get that full Hearts kit on. There's not going to be any excuses, because the one thing about you is you've got a pea heart. You know, you're either sick or you've got a catastrophe, or there's always something that's wrong with you. Whereas Ruffy, every pound is a prisoner to that man. He would come in even if half his leg had been shot off. Yeah. He's your man.
Through 4 traffic lights to get here today. Or they just pop them up, don't they? You know you've got to get there, because some people just don't turn up.
Exactly. Alec, we're bringing the team from Denison and we're hauling them out of that house with that full Hearts kit on.
Oh, I'll be in. I don't think
he'll let us down if that's the case.
No,
yeah, absolutely.
Where's he going to be with the Hearts strip? He has to be a focal point.
Would you want me to stand outside Tynecastle?
Oh, preferably the entrance.
Yeah. I think in here would keep so many Hearts fans happy.
Imagine.
The full kit.
Oh man,
it's going to be absolutely
boots and shinnies, I tell you, no.
Yep, absolutely. And you know, listen, Paul says Hearts need a centre back. They have Halkett, Finlay, McCart, Kent, and Steinminder. How many do they need, Tam? Well, to be fair, I was just saying and suggesting they need a centre half and a striker, because quite simply those are the midfields. The midfield looks good to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, Devlin's probably been one of the standout midfielders in the country this year, and you've got Beningame just coming back as well. So you know they've got some good players in there, and who was the other boy that was there last year? Nye, what was his name? A foreign name, Nye.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yep, I'll get his name in a minute.
A German boy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So they'll still get him.
Neuer,
that's him. Yes. Yeah. So listen, they've got enough personnel in there. It's interesting because the thing for me with Hearts this year is that they have a really good squad, and I don't think that's been the case over the years as well. A little bit like for like. They've got match winners at the top end of the pitch. So they just seem to have the balance right at the moment. And as you said, their net spend was 250 grand in the summer. They've spent a couple of quid this. You just wonder if they're going to go again.
Peter, before we start, your next Aberdeen manager?
Stephen Robinson. Definitely. Stephen Robinson is an absolute shoe-in for me to win the cup with St Mirren and work out a way. And by the way, remember they were a hair's breadth away from taking a point off Celtic until Callum McGregor,
the pile driver,
hit that raker. Stephen Robinson for me is a standout. Not only that, he gets on.
He's ran his race at St Mirren now.
Yes, possibly. But I obviously think to myself, Alan Burrows gets on great with him. They've got a real chemistry there. He really rates him, and I think he would go in there and do something at Aberdeen again, a step up.
I think it's a good shout because obviously you want someone to get in there and knows the landscape. I know we say foreign coaches and things, but he knows it inside out. And I think there's a couple of top 6 finishes as well in there, Tam. So you're right about the St Mirren thing, but the St Mirren fans won't thank us for that, because he'll go down as one of the greatest managers of their history.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing about it, Ruffy, as well, is if Aberdeen were really smart about it, they go and get Jens Berthel. But, you know, because I mean, the whole thing here...
You'd ask the question anyway, wouldn't you?
You definitely would.
He'd go to Aberdeen, but you'd be inquiring his agent, would he be interested?
Definitely.
And if he said yes, he'd be pulling the stops out to get him.
Remember, he's in the equation only for me because Celtic's board is so calamitous. It's like a rudderless ship, you know, and you know, Peter Lawwell might have stepped down as chairman. Is there an advisory role that he's in the back there? Because Michael Nicholson will not be able to come up with a name for who's going to be the next manager. They need a director.
If there's no director of football as well, who's actually going to appoint the manager? Well, you know who appoints him anyway, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be Dermot Desmond. He'll call the shots. So is it going to be, you know, the old Back to the Future? If I was Aberdeen, I would try and steal a march on them. But
well, you've certainly talked him up enough.
yeah,
It's just to be the evidence that we see so far, I think.
and that brings us nicely for you to talk about it because Motherwell battered St Mirren. I was there at Fir Park. Again, a joy to watch. Ruffy, it was unbelievable. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, this is the pass from Just to Mazwanisi for the first goal was fantastic. He just took out the whole defence.
Yep. Yeah. Again, I can't argue with you. They're playing so good. They're playing good football from the back.
What did you make of
They've all got confidence. They've all got confidence. They've got confidence in their own ability. I mean, do you ever stop and watch them on the way here?
Who's that?
Motherwell trained just down in the park. On a Friday, you can see the.
That's good. Now everybody knows where the studios are.
Oh, not necessarily.
Full of tellies.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
The Denison boys
Anything
done
else,
again.
Ruffy?
No.
You get that big screen in Denison, boys? Right,
You just got into somebody's backyard and it's in there.
That'll be in a tournament in the weekend.
No, they're all confident in their own ability. That's what I'm saying. When you're in a team and you're playing next to your mates in midfield, if you know his strengths and his weaknesses, you help them. They all seem to know where they're coming from.
Motherwell, did we not say Motherwell?
Yeah, we did say Motherwell. Yeah. And by the way, the good thing is, Berthel at least has got he's got a good sense of humour as well because it was a peach of a goal from Elliot Watt, but he said, he says, to be honest with you, he says it could have ended up in Tim Hortons, the food shop outside. He says because he hit it off his shin. He was having a wee dig at him, but what a goal!
That was tremendous. It's just the way that he kind of lays it back and then he cuts across it. And I actually thought he caught it flush, but as you say, he's obviously hit it off his shin. But sometimes you need the little breaks. But I think on the balance of play, I thought they were really, really impressive, and that's a real bonus getting that. Is it Max Wanisi back?
Yeah, Max Wanisi,
I think for me, and I know he plays off the side, but I think his central runs are really important for him.
Can we give a little bit of credit to Stephen Presley? What a big derby win and magnificent for him.
Delighted for him. Yeah. I mean, I've worked with Elvis for a year at Falkirk. I really, really like him. I like him as a coach. He's a great person as well. And he gets slaughtered at the start of the season at Dundee. After 3 or 4 League Cup games, they were shouting
them out.
Aye, and then start the season, they've not been great. The Dundee fans have given them pelters, but they're starting to pick up results now. They're starting to pull away from the bottom of the league. Massive result away to Dundee United. Fully deserved as well. And yeah, Stephen's delighted. I messaged him after the game, had a go at his gear, and he told me how much his new shoes cost, so he just put me back in my box. But well done, Big Elvis, and I like your shoes.
Yeah.
He usually wore brown brogues. He was quite staunch at Falkirk.
Yeah.
And he's now got a lighter brown, he said.
All right, okay.
In London, he was at Brentford.
Oh,
sorry, Elvis.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you one thing though, he deserves credit because he's gone to Brentford 3 or 4 years, looking at the system. He's got some good players there at Dundee.
Yeah, I thought
get a couple more signings.
Yeah, I think the big boy at the back had a few chances, few headers. Yeah, goalkeeper came up with an unbelievable save.
Yep.
And as Alex said, when you've got a goalkeeper making saves like that in big games, it really matters, because everybody, you could see when he made the save, all the other players really appreciated what it's about. I mean, Peter says the goalkeeper should never win Player of the Year and all that, but they kind of saves.
Crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. Who's the last goalkeeper to win Player of the Year?
In Scotland?
I think it might have been Theo Schnelders.
Is that right?
Yeah.
It might have been that long ago.
Aye.
There's not many keepers win Player of the Year.
This is true, yeah.
And with all due respect, Ruffy, Guy's piece, Elliot Watt, Cammy Devlin, they're in the running. Who else?
Rangers win the league. Jack Butland might get Player of the Year.
Yeah.
He's been Rangers' best. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's interesting because obviously I think he still did better at the weekend. But going back to Elvis, 3 wins in the bounce. And you remember we were talking about He just runs along and then he gets the win. It just keeps him ticking away. 3 in the bounce is a great boost.
Do you remember what we're also talking about? Just win games.
Win games.
Even if they hate you, win games.
I liked when the final whistle went and he's walking down the tunnel and everybody else is going mental. Players are all going mental and he's just keeping calm. But you know inside he's
You're dancing, yeah, absolutely.
He actually said that about the environment when he went into the dressing room and all that. He was emotional and all that about it and what it means to the boys.
I love playing for him. I love playing for him. He was a real good man manager as well.
I know we've gone slightly over here on our broadcast, but I've got to talk about the league champions come May. What about the Hibbies, Tam? 2-0 win at Kilmarnock.
Yeah, great result. Again, 3 wins in the spin. Getting herself in the title contention. A massive game coming up on Saturday, Motherwell at home.
Yeah.
Sell out £5 a ticket. Fair play to the Hibs board for doing that.
Absolutely.
And for everyone across the board, Motherwell fans are £5 as well. Totally sold out, and that'll be a fantastic game, I think.
I'm going to go to that, Ruffy.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
I'm watching the telly.
When was the last game you were at, Ruffy? Was it
Partick
Stanley
Thistle.
Stanley
Oh,
Matthews?
Partick Thistle.
He's a legend.
Aye,
We'll come
games,
down it.
yeah.
We'll get a game tomorrow night if you want to go.
Wasn't it a couple of years ago?
Eh? No, he was
Protesting about
it was like a
him
yo-yo.
outside.
It was like a yo-yo on the board, off the board,
Protesting
on the
about
board,
you
off the board.
outside.
Yeah.
Took the sign off Alan Ruff Lounge and everything.
Yeah, took,
Oh, yeah.
took
Your
the
name was
painting
done
down.
there.
Right, yeah.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
name was
We've got
done
one in the
there.
dress. We've got one in the manager's office. Right above the manager's desk.
Yeah? With a movie star? No?
Page 3.
So the Hibbies 2-0. And again, Kelly, need to find somebody soon.
Yeah, need a manager in. I think Robbie Nielsen looks to be the favourite.
Yeah.
Need a manager in quickly.
Motherwell probably not getting a mention.
If I was a commando board.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, we've been in the Jens Berthel Askau, fan club, certainly on the evidence of this show. But before we actually go back over the headlines for you, might as well tell you about the quiz. And of course, we posed the question to you, which was who was the player who scored the what effectively was the decisive penalty in the Scottish Cup final against Celtic.
Who are you going for?
Ruffy.
Who are you going for, Ruffy? A, B, or Nisbet?
I'll go for D.
Nisbet wasn't even on the park
D.
then. They get taken off.
I tell you, it's just a guess.
Anti-Palaversa? You going for D?
Palaversa.
I think it was Palaversa as well.
It was Palaversa.
Oh, well.
Do you remember who missed the last penalty for Celtic?
McGregor.
Oh, so it was. I was distraught, wasn't it?
Well done.
It was Anthony Johnson. Thanks for that. Absolutely brilliant. Big thank you to Jason, who has been just basically slaughtered me in the last couple of seconds of the programme, just when we were getting lots of balanced viewpoints. Of course, somebody just says, Peter Martin, you wee helmet. So thanks for that, Jason. That's really made my
your
day.
best pal.
Just when I was coming out of my shell again after predicting that Nancy would go, he has gone. So thank you for that lovely compliment. That's really made my Monday. Thank you to everyone who took part in the quiz. Of course, games coming up. Livingston, St Mirren, Rangers, Aberdeen. Alec, tomorrow.
Yes. Oh, it depends. There's rumours that the Aberdeen can't get down due to the conditions up north. So ideally you'd like that to go ahead. But I would imagine I would still fancy Rangers for that one. I think on the back of the weekend result.
And of course, Tam, to be honest with you, when you look at Saturday and Sunday fixtures, some of those clubs might be looking for a manager as well as Celtic. If Celtic go about their business the way we think they might go for Martin O'Neill, or they might go and poach somebody else's manager.
Yeah, listen, I think it's been a season for the ages so far. I think it's been fantastic. I know the quality's not been great across the board, but in terms of excitement, in terms of the media, us, talking about players getting, managers getting sacked and in a title race, I think it's been brilliant so far. So, listen, Hibs Motherwell was a big game, because they'll have aspirations. One of the two clubs will maybe go and put in a challenge in, and it'll be interesting using the dugout for Celtic and Aberdeen. So.
Is Aberdeen Rangers at the weekend?
Aberdeen playing back to back.
Double header midweek and the weekend, yeah.
Peter Leaven, who went in there and done really, really well, was interim the last time. I think when Barry Robson left.
That's right, yeah.
He boosted his credentials as well for that job.
Last point, any surprise? Amorim sacked at Man United, yet another manager who can't follow Sir Alex Ferguson.
No, and one of the key things for any young aspiring manager is don't have a go at the board.
Yes, it's the killer point. As soon as he had a go, like Brendan,
Did they go to everybody, did they know?
Chelsea boy a couple of weeks ago as well.
Aye.
gone.
Billionaires are not going to be dictated to, are they?
No.
Where have we heard that before, Tom? Wise up. Exactly. Listen, thoroughly enjoyed today's programme. The big news, of course, it's the day to sack or not to sack, and two clubs have been decisive in sacking their manager. Celtic have sacked Wilfried Nancy, 2 wins in 8. Simply not good enough, and they're now looking for a new man. Will it be Martin O'Neill, or will it be somebody out of left field that maybe we've mentioned or maybe that we've not heard of yet in the equation? Give us your thoughts on that. Who's going to be taking the reins at Pittodrie? Will it be Stephen Robinson as Jimmy Thelin is sacked? Could it be Scott Brown going back up there as manager? His name has been mentioned in the equation as well. Give us your thoughts on the managerial merry-go-round, and give us your thoughts also, because we'll be back tomorrow to do it all again on the Football Show. Brilliant to have Alec with us, and Ruffy, and of course Tam McManus. Look out this week, big news on PLZ Soccer going through to the second half of the season, and we're all getting ready. We're starting to make sure we've got the perfect places to stay for the World Cup. Tam, it's getting more exciting.
As long as you're on the belt to big John Murphy and get us a flight, then we're there.
You excited about it, Ruffy?
Fantastic. Sorry I missed Germany, but...
you hold out to June, don't be doing anything daft.
No, I'll be fine. I was on passport this morning.
Yeah.
Getting organised.
Absolutely. And of course, the great thing about Ruffy is he'll be able to sail into America because he doesn't know how to operate his social media. So there's no chance he's said anything untoward. From Alec Ray, from Alan Ruff. Steady, don't open your goal, you're not getting in. Alan Ruff, Alec Ray, Tam McManus, and from myself, Peter Martin. Thank you for watching and listening.